We were just talking about the pandemic's impact on the airline industry. We have an update now on some COVID-19 developments. The Biden administration is ordering more than 100 million doses of an updated Pfizer COVID vaccine. This move was announced yesterday in anticipation of a fall booster campaign to fight off a renewed COVID surge. If the FDA approves the new formula, the first shots, specifically targeting the Omicron variant, would be delivered in several months. The order will cost more than $3 billion using money that was redirected from other areas of the administration's COVID response. Joining us now, White House COVID-19 response coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha. Dr. Jha, it's really good to have you back on the show. So I guess it's Omicron that we're mostly talking about, if that's correct. What's the severity so far of the Omicron variant and COVID that we're seeing across the country? And maybe what is the death rate that might help describe what the severity is?
Yeah. So, Mika, thanks for having me back, and great to be back in the studio here. So Omicron variant has been with us since January, and, compared to Delta, the last version we had, it is a little bit milder, as we often describe, but the truth is it's still a very, very dangerous variant, particularly if you're not vaccinated and boosted. What we've seen over this, last 6 months that this has been with us, is that has killed tens of thousands of Americans. And while we've made incredible progress, right, because of vaccines and because of boosters and treatments, 300 Americans are still dying every day. And that is an extraordinary toll. So and that's during the summer when things are relatively mild. So we are looking at the fall and winter. We're preparing for a variety of scenarios. And we've just got to get America through one more fall and winter, I think, potentially a difficult one if we get a resurgence of the infection.
Okay, one more fall and winter, hopefully, you say. 300 deaths a day. Is that in across the country, nationwide? Are there certain areas that have more deaths? Is there any way to break that down?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have seen throughout the whole pandemic, but certainly right now, is you tend to see more deaths in places where vaccination and boosting rates are lower. We now have Paxlovid, which is a great, very highly effective treatment. We have plenty of it. Some places are using a lot, and their hospitalizations and deaths are low. Other places are using less. Their hospitalizations and deaths are higher. So it does really vary from region to region, and we have to keep working on trying to get these treatments out to more people.
Okay, and then the boosters. We're talking about like a fourth shot and the campaign in the fall. For people who got their 3 shots, it might feel like, do I really need to do this? And for shots for kids, what are you seeing in terms of Americans being receptive to the 4th shot and to vaccinating their kids? What's the realities in terms of people actually getting those?
Yeah, so let's take those two separately. In terms of kids, the Kids Under 5 vaccine campaign just began a couple of weeks ago, right? FDA, CDC authorized it. We started getting it out. Because these are little kids, most of them, we did not set up large mass vaccination sites. We assumed, based on data, that like most kids, most parents would get their kids vaccinated in pediatricians' offices, family practice offices. That is what is happening across the country, and we're seeing that going on. That's going to, I think, roll on through the summer as we get into the fall and winter. Again, we're going to see kids get vaccinated because vaccine confidence really builds over time. And that's what we're expecting for children. Now, in terms of the fall campaign, the vaccines we have are terrific. They were built 2 years ago. They were built against the original variant. And they are terrific at keeping you out of the hospital and keeping you out of the morgue. But the truth is that the virus has evolved so much, we really do need an update. And the bottom line is, we do this every year for the flu. 50–60% of Americans get the flu shot. I expect a large proportion of Americans to get that booster, the very specific Omicron-specific booster this fall and winter. Obviously, we've got to try to do everything we can to make sure we have enough doses. At this point, we are not on track to have enough doses for every American because Congress decided not to fund the ongoing COVID response. So we may have to make some more tough choices. And that's the situation we're in right now.
Okay, so I know Richard has a question, but so is the COVID shot going to end up being like the flu shot, or at some point will we not have to get it?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Right now, we do not have a vaccine that's going to give you lifelong protection. Our vaccines so far have been giving about sort of 6 to 12 months of protection. My hope is, as we continue to make improvements, that we will get to a point where you get to an annual COVID shot. That's not quite where we are, but we are making progress. And I think that is the goal, is let's get it to once a year.
Yeah.
Americans are used to it. Most Americans will get it. That'll be a great way to manage the virus.
Absolutely.
Dr. Shah, close to 20 million people around the world have died from COVID-19. How much better are we now positioned for, say, it's going to be next year COVID-23 or COVID-24 or something else? How much has the world learned and then internalized, so we're better off for the next pandemic or the next virus than we were for the last one?
Yeah, it's a great question, Richard. So we are clearly better off. I mean, we have done a lot to build up surveillance systems. We have demonstrated that we can build vaccines very quickly. But I worry that we are not spending enough time learning the lessons of this one. I worry that people are tired of this pandemic and want to move on. We all want to move on. But that's fine, and I think for the average American, I totally understand that. For our political leaders, that's not okay. We've got to learn the lessons of this pandemic, make sure we understand what went right and what went wrong. A lot of things went right, a lot of things went wrong. I don't know that we're spending enough time really looking at that carefully and making sure that we learn those lessons and apply them for future pandemics.
All right, White House COVID-19 response coordinator, Dr. Ashish Shah, thank you very much for being on the show this morning.